Welcome to the Backwards Universe. This is a bizarre post-apocalyptic world where the people of the former United States struggle to rebuild centuries after a cataclysmic event known only as the End. Today, we find ourselves in the Gulf Ward, a broad stretch of geography connected by the dangerous waters of the Atlantic Ocean, including Old Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Haiti, the Carolinas, Georgia, etc. The Gulf Ward is a place of freewheeling fishing fleets, Yankee merchantmen, and predatory pirates where the writ of Heartland's law is very shallow indeed. The island of Bermuda, which we find ourselves on, escaped the destructive energies of the End largely untouched. It was the plague that took them, and when explorers from the Gulf Ward rediscovered the island, it was completely deserted. But ghost towns filled with skeletons aren't enough to deter the dauntless and daring Gulfers, especially when Yankee Gold is paying for repair and construction. And now, Bermuda is a thriving outpost of the Gulf Ward, and its capital, Milton, is a sizable and prosperous port city, where Gulfer pirates rub shoulders with stuffy Heartlands merchants or wide-eyed backwater farmers. This city is the pride of the Gulf, and it's just a shame that it is extremely haunted. It's not the ghosts you'd think, though. It's not the restless spirits of worlders who died of the plague or radiation. No, it's shipwrecks and the legion of souls who never made it back to port alive. In Milton, the sight of a bedraggled spectral sailor is almost commonplace, and every local has their own ghost story to tell. This is one of those stories, about the most famous shipwreck in the history of the Gulf Ward, about the tragic death of Captain Nicholas Santos, and the fog that heralds the anniversary of his death every year for 25 years. On Nick's Day, the citizens of Milton bar their doors tight, stoke the fires, and tell stories to distract from the death that stalks the cobbled streets once a year. It's Nick's Day again, and the fog is rolling in, and we have stories to tell one another. Together, we'll survive this night as we have the others. Together, we will beat back the darkness. I hope. The fog rolled in this morning like clockwork, and many of us had already taken shelter in one of the many taverns and inns that dot Milton's cityscape. Some of them are well known to all of us. There's the Percentile Vice Tavern, where the crew of the Sin Maria favor their grog extra strong. Or there's the Mayday Inn, where the good sailors of the Stinkin' Jacob are no doubt causing mischief even as we speak. But today, we're gathered here in the Crossroads Tavern, an alehouse of fine repute, and our own refuge against the fog. And as our camera follows the wet, slicked cobbles and espies that frosted window that looks into the common room, we travel from the shadowy, chilly streets to the warm and well-lit interior, where a gaggle of all of the usual sorts have gathered. All of them sit around the tables close together, well plied with food and drink, and I think we will take this moment to have a look at one particular table, where a group of, well, I won't say ne'er-do-wells, but Captain, would you like to start?
You see, probably panning across from a worn, a bit bloodstained pair of leather boots, and up a tattered, kind of salt-bitten coat. You see a dark-skinned woman with kind of very beautiful curly hair that kind of frames her chin. She's got a captain's hat on. It's kind of tilting a little bit back on her head. And has a red and green feather in it that's kind of sticking up into the air. She has very keen, sharp, dark brown eyes that are sort of scanning the space around. Um, Very intimidating aura coming off of this woman. When anyone looks at her for a little too long, she just kind of narrows her eyes and then they turn away. Um, Captain Morgan has a reputation for her bite, and she is not afraid to leverage it to get some peace and quiet, which is impossible when sitting with the people that she's sitting with, but she knows that already.
Welcome, Captain. We're very happy to have you with us. Who is being the loudest at this table? I have an idea, but I just want to hear them offer themselves up.
We know.
We do.
I'm just
Comment.
saying, I've never seen a ghost before. It would be cool. Thomas Booker is a 15-year-old kid. Short brown hair with a little bit kind of like hanging into his eyes here and there. Brown eyes, kind of toned from activity, not from like, you know, trying to be or anything like that. Always full of energy. His clothes are dirty and tattered in many different places, but he doesn't really seem to mind. He has a leather strap across his chest that sheathes a kind of old and worn looking cutlass blade and a very dirty, rusted flintlock pistol.
Excellent. Are we allowing Thomas alcohol? Because
Sure,
there
why
is a
not?
barmaid coming around with beverages for everyone.
I mean, and if he asks
very-
nicely,
A very pretty barmaid.
Of course. We have only very pretty barmaids and barmen here at the Crossroads Tavern.
I like to think that Captain Morgan and Thomas are always in a little back and forth of you get alcohol and then I slide it away from you and replace it with like juice, and then you get mad and then you slide it back, and we're just doing that the whole evening.
Excellent. So drinks have arrived. I would like to know what Santiago is drinking and how we find him this fine evening.
Can I actually get into it? There we go. Better. Santiago is drinking rum, probably just straight up. And he's watching the captain and the wee one just sort of go back and forth, which is always a good time. Meanwhile, he's probably the quietest at the table. He's that skin tone that shows a mix of different cultures. The one that can be light but still maintains a bit of that goldness, and when touched by the sun, it's that nice caramel brown. His eyes are hidden behind dark glasses, and he has a cane at his side that seems well worn, and holds a bit of history. While he might be looking at Thomas and the captain, his attention from time to time seems to move about the bar, but not at the people, at least not the living ones.
Definitely not. And there are more than just the living here. We are always here in Milton, visited by the departed, whether we see them or not.
You haven't seen a ghost because you ain't looking hard enough.
Well, where am I supposed to look? Also, can I try rum? Captain said it was okay.
You can get your own rum. And they're literally all around us.
I will
Right,
slide my rum very slowly over to Thomas, but I will look for a barmaid to order myself another one.
Your reputation is such that you don't even need to look to order. The rum has already arrived.
I love it. Don't you waste it. I see that face.
It's good.
I will I will slide it back if I notice it not getting finished. I'm gonna just poach it.
Incredible. There are two other figures at this table. PJ, why don't you tell us about yourself?
So sitting beside the others is a woman who can only be described as strange, an almost preternatural chill around her. She has armor over her chest made of bark skin, a staff with a lantern slung across her back with fireflies that hum and buzz around it. They say that she travels sometimes through the fog and the mists, that lantern outstretched, radiating a dark gray smoke that keeps the mists at bay. Her hair is dark, black, curly, but unkempt. It falls past her waist. Her skin is so pale, as if she has shunned the light for many years. Its texture closer to that of tissue paper than flesh. Her eyes are gray and distant, and every time she speaks, she draws a breath like a death rattle. And upon her face are the scars of a Glasgow smile.
Which we call a Providence smile around here. But yes, we'd love it. Has Artemisia interacted much, or are you being alone while in the midst of people?
She is alone in the midst of people, but perhaps at one point she will nudge her tankard almost absent-mindedly in Thomas's direction. You do not see her eat. You do not see her drink.
What's that?
More for you, less for me. I
Cool.
don't partake.
All right, so Thomas is going to start this game drunk. I love it.
We went from be careful, young boy, to
Right. Have at it. Which brings us to the final figure at the table. Bob, could you tell us about yourself?
Yes. I picture Jake Marley, sitting at the table with his feet crossed on top of the table, actually, leaning back in the chair. He wears a leather vest and a white shirt with his boots. Pretty well looking good on the table. He's got a roguishly good looks with a 5 o'clock shadow on. He may be flipping through some cards, looking to gamble or talk to somebody who may or may not need his services.
So we have our rogues gallery sitting in the very heart of the Crossroads Tavern. It just so happened that you got the seat or the table directly in front of the stage, we'll call it. It's like just a little raised platform. But the tradition here in Milton on Nick's Day is that the best storytellers in all of the city travel to the various taverns, and for free food and beverage, they spend the entire day, dawn until past midnight, telling stories. And that is how we keep the darkness at bay. And these stories, they're all well-known favorites. They're ones that you've heard 100 times, but each person has their own particular spin on the old story. So while you've heard it, there's always that fresh snippet of something that breathes new life into old bones. And the attention of this entire room is fixed on the figure sitting on the stage. This person is broad, tall. Their clothing is well worn, almost to rags, all of it well crusted with salt. He has a big, florid face, shot through with burst capillaries in the nose and cheeks. Eyes red and watery, but sharp. Captain Morgan, you might sense something of a sameness about the way in which you both observe this room. Your storyteller's hair is graying, and it's missing in patches where there are scars from old cutlass wounds that prevent regrowth, and his beard is grizzled and stained with beer, but his voice which cuts through all of the din and truly draws attention. And he says, "And when the captain finally found the spyglass and looked out at the ship that had been pursuing him for days, he saw his own figurehead, his own form on the foredeck with the most unpleasant smile he'd ever seen. And in that moment, he knew you can never outrun death." And he takes a big drink. And everyone in the bar is clapping. He's sort of surveying, and he says, "Aye, 'tis an important thing to remember that none of us can outrun our fate, though try we might. And that is why we're here tonight, of course. On Nick's Day, fate stalks the streets of Milton. And once it sets its sights on you, there is no escape." And his voice sort of trails away, and he looks at his mug. "I believe I may have another story in me, if the barkeep wouldn't mind helping to wet my whistle." And all of the patrons are sort of pounding their own mugs on the table, like, give him more to drink. And you hear the barkeep, who is just also this very tall, sort of balding man, horseshoe stained apron, be like, "One more story and then you drink, old man." He's like, "Well, if the ale isn't forthcoming, I may need some assistance with this particular tale." And then he looks around the common room for volunteers. This is a standard thing. There's a call and response that often happens. And a number of hands are raised, but his eyes settle on the table that is right in front of him. And he says, "Captain Morgan, perhaps you and your compatriots would care to help tell Nick's tale."
You see Captain Morgan, who has just been like Terminator staring into the wall this whole time. You see her eyes close and her whole face tense. Anyone that's been with her for a little bit, and probably Thomas too, just she's soft for Thomas despite her best against her best interests. This day is particularly hard for her. And it's never quite been clear why, and you see that, like, "Don't make me do this" pass over her face before she knocks back the rest of her drink, slams it down. It's like, "All right, all of you, up. Let's play into the old man's farce."
So you
Story time. How fun.
Oh, this is a crew activity, Santi.
Not actually part of your crew, Captain. We have a business transaction. That's it. But I'll help.
Not worth it. I'll just go up to the stage.
We will bring all of you, because we do need you all for this particular story. It's a complicated one. It's a favorite, but it's also one that all of you know pretty well, and it never feels good to hear it. Some of you have particular associations with why that might be. Some of you just know this story in and out, and it's one that will make grown individuals weep. But the old storyteller sits back in his literal lazy boy recliner, a remnant of the before times. And he says, "All right, well, with helpers like these, I think I can tell this story properly. It was 25 years ago, this very night, that the shining light of Milton, the handsomest and most daring pirate to ever sail these waters, was snuffed out. Some of you may remember what it was like before those Yankee bastards sailed into town, with their powdered wigs and their cider and their founders and, worst of all, their rules. Captain Nick Santos rallied us Miltoners to resistance, and he was a terrible thorn in the Yankee side for years. Viceroy after Viceroy failed to bring Nick to justice, and there was a time when we thought he might actually rid us of those meddlesome Yankees. But we didn't reckon on old Ebenezer Greenback, our curse. A more devious and evil mind I've never seen. But it was shortly after Greenback sailed into port that our real troubles began. Within a few months, he'd rounded up and hanged the majority of the free sailors in the area, and forced the others to sail with Yankee paperwork. Only Captain Nick evaded his grasp, until that fateful night 25 years ago, when the Nightingale foundered on a still, clear night. You all know the names of the crew who came back. Jessup Blitz Ingram, the traitorous first mate, and here he gestures at you, Santi. You know your role. Knox Wheeler, a cunning smuggler who knew the waters of this area like the back of his hands. Jake, you get a nod. Aloysius Doncaster, the vicious bosun with a smile of steel. Artemisia, you know your role now. Drea McKay, who knew exactly what her efforts were worth. Thomas, a nod to you. Rudy Hastings, the boy with a dream. Captain, to you. And Benton Weasel, I'm sorry, Wesley, the most important person on the ship. And he nods to himself, basically. We'll go back to that terrible, fateful night when our last best hope was cruelly ripped from us by this pack of remorseless sharks. It was a clear night and calm. A brisk and westerly wind was carrying the Nightingale back from harrying another Yankee merchant convoy. The hold, filled with the choicest pickings of old world technology, coin, and Heartland's weapons. No one knows what kicked off the mutiny, but to my thoughts, it was that rogue, Aloysius Doncaster. Always easy to anger in life. I'm sure that was something that set him off. But what I do know is that Nick's wife was the first to go overboard. We will bring our scene to the deck of the Nightingale. It is indeed cool. It's a breeze. But not a hard breeze. It's gentle. This is smooth sailing. This is the smoothest sailing you will get in these waters. It is a perfect clear night, broken only by a muffled cry, which might be a sob, and then the sound of something human-sized splashing over the side of the Nightingale, as Knox Wheeler discovers that Aloysius has done something impulsive.
Well, she isn't quite beautiful anymore, that's for sure. Salt wife, I hope she likes the taste of salt water.
Aloysius. What are we doing that for?
I know what the orders are. I know that we're to wait, but how can I when she was so high and mighty? No, we need to ring the bell. Start the mutiny now. No time to wait.
You think it's wise? Think everybody's ready?
I'm not part of this crew because I'm wise. And Aloysius will go over to the warning bell and start ringing it as loudly as he can and start shouting blasphemous things about Captain Nick and his dead salt wife, and they need to soak the boards of this ship with the blood of Captain Nick. And Aloysius stands there ringing the bell and laughing, as violent and terrible as he is handsome.
Knox has been waiting for this moment to happen. because amidst chaos, not many people can be attentive or aware. He silently slips below the deck to where the coin is and begins taking his cut off the top, as you would say.
There's a specific special room. There is a hold where all of the sort of recently acquired treasure is, but Nick has a secret room that really only Jake knows about. And that is where the best is kept. And so, Jake, as Aloysius rings this bell and shouts madness into the night air about killing the man who has treated all of you so very, very well, you slip in and you take what you know to be rightly yours. And we'll pull back to the tavern where the storyteller takes a drink and says, as the word spread through the crew that this thing was happening, carried by Aloysius's bell ringing, everyone knew there was no turning back. But there was one crew member who still needed convincing. Back to the Nightingale, we are in the hold, where Rudy sits, tasked by Captain Nick with inventorying the entire haul of the day. This is work for 3 or 4 people, but Rudy sits alone, only a sputtering lantern as a companion. Until, that is, Rudy, you feel a presence behind you, and Blitz Ingram enters the hold on very important business.
Rudy,
Oh, God, it's just you.
just me.
No, I'm sorry. You can immediately see this very tall beanpole of a young kid, maybe 17 or 18, dark skin, and the bags under his eyes just keep going. It is usual for Rudy to be up all night doing whatever menial labor that the captain demands of him. You get the sense he hasn't slept in more than one day. And he just kind of looks up at you, probably knocks some things over, and then scrambles to pick them back up. What can I help you with something?
Yes, actually, you can. Jessup Ingram, aka Blitz, is a tall, wide man. Definitely got the wild feral look. Like he's been out at sea for a while. Like he's always ready to kill. He's smiling, and it's that of an animal, one that's about to go on a hunt. And he's looking at Rudy with all the intensity of someone who's ready for something big. They're just not saying what that big thing is yet. You can help, actually. We're looking for change.
Change? Well, this isn't where we keep the coin. You would know that.
That's not what I mean, Rudy. I mean change of our livelihood, of the way things work around here.
Okay, I'm listening. Kind of turns on the crate he's sitting on to give you his attention.
Right. Captain Nick is done. After tonight.
Done.
Done. We need you on board.
You see this very sweet-looking kid break into a feral grin that's just as wild as Jessup's. And he laughs this like horrid, wet, delirious laugh because after so many years and so many hours, he finally has a foothold. He stands up and kind of runs a hand through his thick curls. Yeah, whatever you need.
Great. Jessup will pull a hat from like behind his back. It's a captain's hat, almost. Almost certainly. I'll hand it to you. We need someone to take the reins.
Me?
Certainly. You want it the most.
Kind of puts the hat on. And that same like wild look in his eyes and that grin, he's a whole different person in the darkness of this hold. Yeah, I do want it.
Good.
Bring me to him.
Come with me, Captain.
With the crew united in purpose, it remained only for Drea McKay, who had caught Blitz's eye, to make her way to the captain's quarters, where Captain Nick slept peacefully in his swaying hammock, unaware of the fate about to befall him.
Drea McKay, I think we see her walking towards the captain's quarters. Her rather pale skin is kind of freckled by the sun that she sees on board the Nightingale. Blonde, pretty face, hazel eyes, and she walks like she knows she's both beautiful and dangerous. It's a confidence that she hides when necessary, but she's not hiding it tonight. And she will walk into the captain's quarters as long as he does not keep the door locked.
He does, but there is an individual standing outside of the captain's quarters. Benton Wesley, the ship's dog's body, whatever you want. He does the stuff that even Rudy is not deigned to do. He's got a mop. He is small and pale and gangly. His hair is long and lank. He looks like he's eating a lemon constantly, just that sort of sour face. And he's got his mop, and he's just one-handed, not, he's swabbing, but he's got a key on his finger that he is twirling.
Drea doesn't even say anything. She just reaches up and takes the key from his finger.
He leans in and says, "Make sure it hurts."
Oh, it'll hurt.
Good. And then he sort of just like wheels his little bucket away, leaving you completely able to enter the captain's quarters, where, Nick, you hear his gentle snores. It's, he sleeps through anything. You all know this. So even Aloysius's bell is not waking him up. It would take an act of God, or the next best thing, Satan, to wake him.
Still, knowing he sleeps through anything, Drea still finds herself trying to kind of be quiet as she's walking in. She doesn't bother closing the door behind her, but she walks in and takes the small amount of rope that has been tucked into her pocket, pulls it out, and her fists are like, she's almost like white knuckling at times, holding this rope, stepping closer and closer to Nick, and only hesitating for a moment, as if savoring it. She looks at him, sleeping, and then in one swift movement, she'll grab onto his wrist and begin tying it to the hammock pole.
He starts like, Drea, what's going on?
Good morning, Captain.
Why is the bell ringing? Why What is happening?
You know what? I wouldn't really worry about that, but what I would worry about, and she like tightens the knot,
Ugh.
is have you been naughty or nice, Nikki? I can call you Nikki, can't I?
No.
I'm gonna call you Nikki. Here's the thing. And she takes a step back. You see, I'm quite used to being underestimated, Nikki, and it's really unfortunate for you. It really is.
What do you want?
I'm getting what I want.
At that point, I think the understanding crosses into his brain. He's like, you see the panic. He's like, if this is about the map, I will give it to you. We can go
No.
right now. I can give it.
Nikki. That's what you said last time.
I didn't mean it then, but I mean it now.
Oh, I see. Well, maybe we can come to a bit of an understanding. Where is it?
It's in my private store. I guess I can't gesture because he's tied up. He's like frantically gesturing. He's like, it's in my private store. I have the key. We can go now. I can give it to you. We can forget that this ever happened. Do you want to be first mate? Ingram, I can boot him. Little worried about him anyway.
Wow, Nikki. Throwing people under the bus left and right. Where's the key?
And he sort of like gestures over to a little nightstand that has a drawer.
Okay, you wait here. And she kind of like boops his nose and then walks over to look for the key.
It's there in the drawer. And I think as you pull it out, that is when Rudy and Ingram and Knox and Aloysius arrive at the captain's quarters. And as every one of you steps into the room, you just see he just starts to understand, and it just gets worse as everyone comes in.
Captain, did we catch you at a bad time?
Why are you doing this?
Well, we're all tired, Captain.
Of what? Have I not treated you well?
Rudy's gonna walk up and I think kind of twitchy and panicked, and then we'll slap him. Tired, tears running down his face. I do all of your shit for you. Not doing it anymore. I'm not captain anymore. I am. I'm in control.
Yes. If you want Rudy to be the captain, that's fine. You don't need to do whatever this is. And he looks down at his hands.
Captain, you're already a chapter behind. We've done things this night that we can't take back. Where do you think she is? Your wife.
Understanding flashes, and at that point, he tries to rip himself free.
I think there's going to be a sword just right at the sternum. Temper.
And Aloysius will flick out his blade with a practiced flourish. You can still see the blood on it, and he will lick it clean and flick it back.
He looks at Knox. You too?
One thing that that you need to know about me, Captain, is I'm a businessman. I gotta go where the money is. This was just a deal that was just in the makings.
I think Nick takes a moment to look at every one of your faces. He says, if you do this, I will be back for each and every one of you. Put me into the locker. Send me to hell. I will drag every one of you back with me.
You should know by now, Captain, that I don't enjoy being threatened.
It's not a threat, Blitz. It's a promise.
Uh-huh. We'll see about that. Shall we take him upstairs? Wonderful.
All right, so the crew drags Captain Nick upstairs. Drea, you find your key. You find your map. Nox, you have your coin. Rudy, you have your ship. Aloysius, you have your blood. Blitz, you have the death of the man. You all have what you need. Any final thoughts before we return to the tavern?
I don't know if anyone has something before me, but I have some last, just final words to him before we.
Yes, I do as well, but I want to check if it's okay with Alex first.
I feel like we're all gonna have a final word.
Yes, we should absolutely
dramatic turn away, and then the next person comes in and we turn away. And...
So we'll say he's tied to the mast.
Okay.
And you know the other point that you all have been paid to do is to sink this ship so that it does not remain a symbol. The man and the ship have to go. There will be other ships.
Right. We were promised enough money for you to still have a ship. You're still the captain, I promise.
Yes.
I think Rudy, all the blood thirst melts away seeing him actually tied to the mast and realizing everyone else is much more ready to go with a blade than he is. And so he will turn to the task of sinking the ship. He knows this thing's bones better than anyone because he spends his days trapped in it, and he's going to take him apart.
Absolutely. It is... The ship is old. You know it in and out. It is basically a matter of, as soon as you decide you don't want this ship floating anymore, it is not. So
okay, yeah. So I'll go about prepping that, and then I will wait for the final word. Kind of not able to look at Nick.
All right.
I imagine we were provided other transport off of.
There is one lifeboat that fits 25 people. Just so happens there is a crew of 26, so you should be just fine.
Fantastic. I don't think Blitz says anything, but he does make eye contact with Nick while putting a hand on Rudy's shoulder. Just that, don't worry, I got him.
Rudy's just gonna look at the deck by Nick's feet, like he just can't lift his eyes, and wait for the blood splatter.
You need to watch it.
He'll look up.
And
It's just empty eyes.
I think Knox takes a coin from his pocket and sort of bites into it to make sure that it's real, and then holds it as he's watching.
And before that final cut, Aloysius will lean in close to Nick, as close as he can, the whisper bringing up the hair on the back of his neck. Aloysius stinking of iron blood. Captain, when you sink into that dark abyss of the locker, say hello to Artemisia.
Nick headbutts you.
Somebody slit his fucking throat!
If no one steps forward, Drea will step forward immediately with just a small knife and literally just slit across like she's done it a million times. And then as she's wiping her blade off on her sleeve, she turns to get into the lifeboat and she says, "Sing sweet, Nightingale."
And I think at that point, Rudy's ministrations really catch. And you see the Nightingale shudder and list. And very quickly, as you are rowing, as the Nightingale goes under, you see a topsail on the horizon. It's almost like as soon as the Nightingale goes under, this other, your savior, appears. And you are all brought back to Milton. Our camera will return back to the Crossroads Tavern. 5 of you on stage with the storyteller. He looks at you all, gives you a nod, and says, "With the deed done, the cover-up began. The crew returned and claimed the Nightingale had foundered on uncharted rocks, and that the lifeboat would only fit 25 of the ship's 26 crew. Nick's selfless sacrifice had allowed their escape, they claimed. And when the investigators sailed out to the Nightingale's location, they claimed that Nick had been caught up in the ropes. Nick, who knew the secrets of knots and rigging before he could walk, and who is well respected by the sea. But Yankee coin speaks louder than truth in this corrupt world, and the coroner officially declared Nick's death a tragic accident. And although we all knew there was something wrong, the crew of the Nightingale went about their lives. They prospered, they grew wealthy, and they grew powerful. A year passed, and when Blitz Ingram's ship went down in calm waters, and he was saved, no one thought anything of it. But on the anniversary of Nick's death, a fog rolled in, and all the Yankee doctors tried to save Ingram as he drowned in his bed. Pneumonia, they said, but we knew better. For what use is Yankee physic against the clammy grasp of fate? Drowned in his bed, indeed. More time passed, and every year another member of the Nightingale was found dead on Nick's day. Aloysius Doncaster, tied up and drowned in a bathtub in the finest brothel in town, his jaw broken into a horrible rictus smile with a Providence touch. In a bathtub with no pipe connection, and which hadn't seen water in years. His clothes bone dry. Drea McKay, with a piece of paper that was supposed to lead to her heart's desire, found only in a cold vault filled with gold, and which choked the very life from her lungs. Knox Wheeler, found sitting peacefully in his locked chambers, surrounded by weapons and a life's worth of gold. Dead, but with no discernible cause of death, except that every finger on his left hand was neatly, bloodlessly removed, and never found. Rudy Hastings was found nailed to the prow of his ship, a grotesque figurehead, his body slowly turning to wood. 25 crew members, 25 years. Captain Nick is rebuilding his crew. And there's only one left, and we know what his fate will be. Old Benton Wesley, our mayor, installed by the merchant house of Greenback and Cash in Hand 10 years ago as their puppet. We didn't like to see it, but we also knew his term would be limited. It was only a matter of time before fate caught up with him, and now fate has arrived. I think we can picture him now, holed up in that magnificent mayor's palace, surrounded by armed guards who are paid to die for him, and who will die for him. No one escapes their fate. Drains his mug, gives the audience a big, big smile, broken-toothed. And in the distance, there is gunfire. There is the pop of pistols and the more sustained chatter of rifles. There is a scream. The storyteller's smile only widens. Sounds like old Nick's vengeance is at hand. Pity old Mayor Wesley, because tonight is the last he walks this earth. And then we'll be rid of him. And he looks out the window into the fog, gestures. Take it all in, friends, for this could be the very last time we see Nick's fog. It's a beautiful thing in its own way, but I wouldn't be caught dead in the streets tonight. And that is when the window shatters in. Some sort of barrel, it looks like, comes smashing through the window. The fog and the cold start creeping into this tavern, and you see a figure jump through after the barrel. What is your immediate reaction?
I put Thomas behind me, or I attempt to. It never works, but I try.
Thomas is going, I got it, Captain! And is going to run forward to try to block the window with something.
Scruffing you like a kitten.
Yeah, I think we're both going like, no.
How did this happen?
I've got Kane up at the ready.
I will say that the figure that has exploded into the common room is moving around and stands up and starts brushing glass off of themselves, and you recognize them. It's the mayor. It's Mayor Wesley.
Oh, no, you really shouldn't be here.
And he looks frantic. Like, the hair that was lanky when we first saw him is now thinning and gray, but it's still that sort of like lanky comb over. His skin is wrinkled and sallow and pale. The bags under his eyes go for days. He looks like he hasn't slept in a month. He knew fate was coming for him tonight. His clothes are nice but ill-tailored, loose in the elbows and knees. Everything looks a little big, and he's looking desperately around, and he zeroes in on you and says, You have to help me. He's after me. Nick?
Why would we do that?
I can pay you. I have money. You can't let him get me.
I draw my cutlass. And then there's a moment where all of the muscles coil like a predator about to leap. And then the captain just gives this very deep, tired sigh and then turns to the rest of you. You all do what you want. I suggest you leave him to die.
Oh. I
And
know
I'm gonna start. Yeah, I'm gonna start making my way to wherever the downstairs is and kind of look expectantly over my shoulder, like there wasn't a choice.
As you're having this conversation, the mayor is like pleading on his knees with you. The fog has curled into this formerly very warm space, and it's very thick. Every year it gets thicker, and it is soup. But you feel, all of you, every single one of you, feels a sharp piercing in your left hand. And you look down and you see there is fog funneling into your hand, creating this very large black spot on your palm.
What's happening?
He's after you too now. And the mayor holds up his hand, which has a similar black spot.
Santi is going to pull the blade from his cane. Dear Mayor, if you don't leave my sight right now, Nick's not going to be the only one you have to worry about.
Listen, this This is a place of safety. You can help me. I can help you.
It
I know
was
things. I
a
can
place
stop Nick. I
of
know how to
safety.
stop him, but I can't go into the fog alone.
There is something that you can do. Perhaps, Mayor.
Yes.
The same thing that I did many years ago. You can rewrite the story. Do you want to rewrite that part of the story?
Hope blossoms, and he, like, his face. Yes. Anything you need, I will do it. I know who killed Nick. I know who paid to have Nick killed.
I think at that, the captain kind of went catatonic when the fog started, and like I think she just completely blacked out, but then hearing that raises the cutlass once again and kind of tip his chin up with it. Start talking.
I will say, I would like everyone to make a resolve roll. I forgot about that when the fog went into your hand to create the spot. So that is, you're rolling a d20 and trying to get under your resolve score, equal to or under.
Theoretically, if I rolled a natural 20.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, there are no critical failures on resolve.
What can we
I'm
do
under.
with a 19, would you say?
I've got Santi and Thomas failing. If you failed, you're going to take 2 points of resolve damage. If you succeeded, just the 1 point. The mayor, with a cutlass under his chin, says, I can tell you who had Nick killed, but you can't kill me.
I'm not sure I quite like that deal. You know, there's something missing. There's something missing. You're not trying hard enough. Why don't you do the same thing I did that night 25 years ago? Why don't you beg?
I think understanding and recognition actually enters into his head, and he says, Artemisia, is that you?
I was beautiful the last time you saw me.
Oh, you were alive the last time I saw you. Aloysius killed you. No. Aloysius killed you. You're dead.
I seem quite alive to me, though. I'm sure if I were to drive my blade across your throat, the same way that was done to Nick all those years ago, I think you would bleed. I would quite like to see that.
And he, like, you know, he's got like the 3-day stubble, and he, like, you know, sort of saggy turkey neck, and he's like, I quite prefer my neck uncut, but not only do I know who had Nick killed, I know what happened to your daughter.
Artemisia drops the knife that she's holding, and it clatters across the tavern floor. Get the name of my daughter out of your fucking mouth. I will kill you right here. I have one of my friends. Do it for me. Tell me what I need to know, and I might let you live. Nick would never harm me, no matter what my palm might read.
You don't know that.
I'm
You
willing
want
to
to
take
think
the
that.
gamble. I'm willing to take the gamble, are you?
I'm gonna back around him and then he's like kind of on the ground kneeling.
Yeah,
right?
we'll say he's kneeling at this point. He absolutely got into I'm going to beg for my life position.
So I'm gonna crouch behind him and then pull his head up by his hair so that he has to make eye contact with her. And over his shoulder, Artemisia, you see probably a very similar pain to the one you're exhibiting. But she does not say anything. She just waits for your move.
Where is she?
He's here. In Milton.
Where is here in Milton? My patience is waning.
I have a plan. I will take you to her, which means I will also take you to the person who had Nick killed. And maybe if Nick is able to kill that person, he will not kill me. And he will not kill all of you.
Did it take you this long to figure all that out?
I have had 25 years to come up with this plan. But the last piece really only fell into place tonight.
25 years, and this is the best that you can do.
Because I didn't think he was touchable until tonight. But he gave me all his guards. Ebenezer Greenback. We go to his house. We have Nick kill him. We get your daughter back, and all of us walk away.
How long have you known?
I was the one who brought her to him.
As soon as you say that, Artemisia doesn't even have her knife on her anymore. She is just going to physically lunge at the weasel, like trying to get at him with like tooth, with nail, with claw, and will have to be physically restrained.
Morgan will drop him to go and hold her. Not even really holding her back forcefully, but just holding her. And but we'll keep the cutlass out and in his direction.
Santi does not move.
I think Jake is ready with a quip and turns to Thomas and says, I think you've seen your ghost.
Thomas is just paler than before and is just staring at this entire scene.
I think the mayor has like crawled up to you, Santi, and is like climbing up you, you know, like from the, like grabbing whatever piece of garment that he can to, like you can feel the tremors in this man. And he's like, please, you're a respected businessman. The tax breaks I can give you. Please.
Tax breaks. That's what you think I want?
Whatever you
What's
want.
my last name?
Baptiste.
Mm-hmm.
No.
The same.
And I think he sees the cane that you're holding for the first time.
The cane, probably the jacket. Yeah.
He recoils and like scoots back onto his butt and is like scrambling away from you. You two? And then like Thomas and Jake, he's like, you, please, young boy, the position I can give you. Please, we can make you famous. We can make you rich. Anything you want, please.
Look, I don't know how you know all these guys, but I'm with them.
Sir, he like looks at you, Jake. Like you are his last grasp straw. Please don't let me die. Please don't let me die. We can fix this. We can make it all right. We can put Nick to rest. We can help your friends. You can be so rich, and we can all be alive. Isn't that what you want? We want to live.
So Jake sort of perks up on the word rich, simply because that's the thing that speaks to him the most at this point. Weasel. Can I call you Weasel?
Whatever you want.
How rich are we talking, Weasel?
You know how much money Greenback and Cash in Hand have in their vaults? They could finance a fleet. They could finance an army. They could buy this town.
Oh, who needs a ship? I've stolen ships before.
They have more money than the founders.
Is that a lot?
Thomas, that's a lot.
More than a lot.
We could be kings. We could be more than kings.
Better than kings.
I don't-
Presidents.
I don't know any kings that kept weasels. I'm gonna kick him. And I'm going to step on his throat. And then I will pass my cutlass to Artemisia and look at them very meaningfully.
Artemisia will take it. This look of strained understanding almost passing between the two of you. And she'll also prop up your chin. She'll nick you a little bit so that there's a trickle of blood, just so you know that she is flesh and blood and bone, even if she is a ghost. And she says, "Take me to my daughter. Make my friends rich as kings. And we'll put the greatest king I've ever known to rest. And maybe, if we do that, you can survive the night with your pelt intact."
That is all I ask. You are just and fair, just like Nick. Let's go
No.
now.
No, I am far worse.
Panic. We're fighting down panic because we don't know which is worse. The ghosts out there or the ghosts in here. We just need to get to his compound.
I'll release him.
Are you armed? Some of you are armed.
Always.
It's dangerous out there. So keep your heads. And then he very, very trepidatiously, like he absolutely does not want to take another step outside, like steps over the low, window, the bottom of the window that is now broken. And he literally goes out into the fog and you can't see him the second he's gone. But you hear his voice say, "It's really cold. We have to be quick."
Artemisia will pull Santi aside. I think the captain already understands. They already have this moment, this connection that's passed between them, but she'll pull Santi aside and say, "Money notwithstanding, he does not survive the night."
Oh, that was already in play.
Thank you, old friend.
No problem at all. The ghosts have wailed for his soul for far too long. Santi's gonna take a bottle of rum, pour 2 shots. Gonna drink one, flip it over, and leave the other one. Sign respect for the dead.
I think as Thomas is leaving, I don't even know if anyone can hear him, but he's just like, "I'm so confused right now." And we'll just follow.
Oh,
Thomas.
baby.
You wanted to see Ghost, yeah?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I just said I hadn't.
Oh, well, now it's gonna happen either way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just kind of put my arm around Thomas's shoulder, just loosely, and then kind of reach for Jake's arm as well, and kind of just pulling my people together.
All right, so we are going to go into the mist and the fog, and it is like you guys are used to fog here in Milton. It's the weather most of the time, but there's a particular chill in this fog. It just gets into your bones in a way that the usual fog does not. So you are immediately cold as you go into the streets. You are relying on Wesley to get you to where you need to go, because you all have a vague notion of where Greenback and Cash in Hand live, but it's one of those like parts of town that your sorts are not allowed in. So even though you sort of know the district, you know where it is, you don't know where it is. So he will lead you. What I would like from all of you, I would like either an assess, survive, or search roll.
15 for me.
I got a 14 for survive.
13 for search.
15 assess.
18 for search.
So normally in this game the DC is 12. That's the sort of standard baseline. Because this is the thickest fog that we have ever experienced in our lives, and it's very hard, I bumped the DC up to 16, which means, Thomas, you are the one who manages to stay close to the mayor as you are all wandering the streets. The rest of you, you're going, you're in a line. You can sort of see, vague shapes of people. You think they're your people, but then you see others in the fog, and it gets confusing, and you aren't quite sure which person you're meant to be following. So very quickly, this descends into all of you, scattered into the various streets of Milton. Jake, you cut through an alley. You thought you saw someone go down the alley. You cut into it. You're like, then all of a sudden you don't see anyone in front of you. And again, like, this is to the point where you can't see hand in front of your face. You're just getting vibes and shapes. So you stop, you turn around, there's no one behind you. The entire area is quiet. Actually, I'd like you to make me a vigilance roll, please.
So there's a 14, but I have a -2 on that upper thing for the modifier, so it's a 12.
Okay, well, as I told you, the DC generally in this game is 12.
Generally 12. Yeah.
This
I
isn't
generally make it.
this isn't a sight thing, so it's not the fog. That's not the problem. But you have a certain coin on your possession. And it's weird because you don't see anyone around you, you don't hear anyone around you, but what you do is you feel fingers in your pocket, trying like a pickpocket, like rifling through your clothes to get at this coin.
Knox, if that's you, I will help you get some vengeance on Nick Santos, but you can't take this coin from me.
There is no response except for more rummaging.
He's going to put his hand into the same pocket as the coin.
So you put your hand in your pocket. And again, this is a feel thing. This is not a see thing. But you put your hand in your pocket and you feel your coin. That's there. Don't worry about that. But you also feel a finger. And then a second finger. And then a third, and a fourth, and a fifth. And none of them are attached to anything, but they are 5 fingers from a left hand. And I would love for you to make me a resolve roll.
Okay. A 3 under 11.
Okay, you're going to take 1 point of duress, which means drop your resolve by 1. And then we are going to pop over to Santi. You are walking through the streets, your cane clicking on the cobblestones. Again, this is you saw 2 figures and you weren't sure which one was the person you were supposed to be following, so you took a turn and that took you into a dead end. So you turned around and then the dead end is a dead end that way. And so you're very, very turned around and you have absolutely no instinct as to where you're supposed to go. And that's when you cough. Because the breath that you just took was very wet. It was almost,
Oh no.
you know, you're in fog, you're in mist, so like you're expecting that level of humidity or condensation. But then the second breath happens and it's fully like breathing in salt water. You can feel it at the back of your throat. You can taste seaweed. I would like you to make me a resolve roll.
Okay. I got a 4.
Okay. So you take 1 point of resolve damage. So you drop your
Okay.
resolve down by 1. And that's when you see a very large figure walking out of the mist towards you. And you hear a laugh. Wet. Burbling. As though a drowning man is chuckling at you. Let's move over to Captain Morgan. Again, we've all been turned around. You had your people. They separated somehow. You know, this is just, it's a confusing situation. You're all a little stressed. You get yourself and you find that you're down suddenly at the port. And the only reason you know that is because you can see the ship's masts sort of rising out of the fog.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain amount of sound that ships make, right? You know, they make that sort of creaking groan. And so you expect that from in front of you. You don't expect it from behind you. But it sounds pained if wood can be in pain. And there's a snap, like a bone or wood. And then there's another snap. And you see a tall figure, but gangly, thin, with a hat, come out of the fog. And you realize that the limbs are held at very strange angles. And the figure comes in just in time, close enough for you to see wood and flesh melding together. You see the broken arms that were nailed to the figurehead of a ship. And you see the desperate eyes of Rudy. And I would like you to make me a resolve roll, please.
That's a big 2, so we're under.
All right, so that is 1 point of resolve damage. So you drop or lower your resolve by 1.
Okay.
And Rudy opens his mouth and his teeth have become wood splinters. And he says, "Help me." Artemisia, you are also walking through the streets. You are good in fog, generally. But there's something about tonight that just has turned you around. And your sense of direction in fog is good, so you generally know where you're supposed to go. So even though you get separated, you have a moment where you're like catching your bearings, and you're looking around, and you're like, okay, I actually do need to go this way. And you vibe through it, and you're walking along the streets, and that's when you hear the footsteps coming toward you. There are people out and about, so that's not unusual, but what is unusual is the very weird tug that you get at both sides of your mouth. It's involuntary almost, as though something is trying to pull your face into a smile.
Artemisia turns around in the mist and she's got that lantern held aloft, but it's not keeping the mist at bay the way that she's used to it. She feels not comforted by the fog, which is perhaps how she might expect to feel if this is the manifestation of her lost lover. Instead, she feels horribly alone, and she starts to turn and say, "That's not you. Nick, this isn't you. It's someone else."
You hear a voice in response say, "No, It's me. And that's when Aloysius steps out and like catches the light of your lantern. He has his own Providence smile now. It's bloody and terrible, and when he smiles, the skin rips so that it's all one big giant mouth that is very happy to see you. And you see whatever he is flick a little knife in the air and catch it and say, I thought I killed you once. Stubborn. I would like you to make me a resolve roll, please.
Oh God. Okay, that was a 17.
Okay, so that will be 2 points of damage, so you'll drop your resolve by 2. And I think in that moment you have, like, it's just panic instinct, because this is the last time you were in a shared space with this person, they tried to murder you. You know, like, they cut your face and threw you overboard and left you to die, and you knew that he was dead, but he's back. And he looks even more murderous than the last time you saw him. And finally, Thomas, you have been following close on the mayor. And he's not stopping. He's just like going and expecting you to follow, and you're like able to sort of scramble close behind him and whatever. And he gets you to a compound, basically a large, there's a wall, there's a big building beyond that's lit. You can see the sort of penumbras of light that are the windows. And he's like, okay, we've made it.
Okay. I'm Thomas, by the way. It's nice to meet.
I don't care.
Oh. Okay. Captain?
The captain is not behind you.
Oh. Okay.
Santi is not behind you. Artemisia is not behind you. Jake is not behind you.
That's...
You're alone with this man. And that's when you hear the coin ping on a cobblestone about 30 feet down that way.
Did you hear that?
No? What did you hear?
It's like a like a coin.
There it is again. 20 feet in front of you. No? 10 feet.
Thomas draws his flintlock with a very shaky hand.
Then the coin lands on your head.
I look up.
Good.
Great.
You look up, and it's one of those shots where it's like you look up and we just get your POV as the face that is hovering right above you comes full into view. It's Drea. Her hair is long and like flowing right down towards you. Coins are spilling out of her mouth, and you can see there is molten gold dripping out of her eyes. And then she reaches for you, and you see that there are barbed wire like chains wrapped all around her hands. And I would like you to make me a resolve roll, please.
Okay, so my resolve is 8 now. And I rolled a 7.
Okay, 1 point of resolve damage. Well done. Jake, you feel the fingers in your pocket, and that's when you feel an insubstantial hand just punch you in the face. Like full on, you just, like an invisible man wallops you right in the face and sends you sprawling. You're not going to take damage, but it's one of those where you weren't expecting it because you were dealing with the fingers that were in your pocket that aren't attached to anything. You go sprawling to the ground, and then you see a figure loom up over you. And it is at that point you feel the coin pulled out of your pocket.
You want that, Nox? You can take it.
The figure walks up and sort of looms over you, and it is indeed Knox Wheeler. But the last time we saw him, he was alive. Now that we see him close, he also has these chains that are just hooked into him. And he says, "Help us."
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. We were headed to get the guy who put the hit on Nick Santos that started this whole thing.
Save us from him.
From Ebenezer or from Santos?
The captain.
Okay, okay. I'm working on it. I swear.
The hand with the fingers comes down and like hits your chest. And he says, "Thank you." And I would like you to make me a health roll, please.
You have to roll under it or over it?
Under.
A 1.
Okay. You are going to take 1 point of damage as you feel your life essence start to leave your body. And Nox starts to become more corporeal.
Well, I don't like that.
Make me a wisdom check, or I'd allow an assess check.
It's only a 7.
Okay. You have no idea what the fuck is going on. But it seems that this ghost is currently trying to consume your very essence. And if left in this situation, you will die.
Can I just like slap him, say like, knock that off?
Yes. Make me a melee attack.
Okay. That is a 10.
That is in fact good enough because he is a ghost who is like right up in your business. You're not, to hit him is nothing. He's right there. But what happens, because I don't know, maybe you weren't trying to do this, but you hit and you feel that coin slap because it is a physical thing. And you send that coin like scrambling out, out of the ghost's fingers, and it panics. You can feel the panic. And it starts scrambling after the coin, which is now like bouncing down
the road. Okay.
Through the fog.
I still can't see, but could I get my whereabouts? Could I holler in the fog, trying to get like
always an option.
Okay, I'm gonna holler out for the crew,
Okay.
saying I've lost my way. Can I get a echo back? I need an echo back so that I can sort of follow the echo.
I don't
Right.
know if it matters, Alex, but Thomas is not quiet right now. Thomas is
Okay.
screaming.
So what I will say is, Jake, make me a luck roll. So just roll a d20. If you had odds, you want to get odd. If you had even, you want to get even.
I had odd and I got an even. So
Okay.
I am rolling fine, just like
Yeah.
Bob would.
You don't hear anyone. It's supernaturally quiet, we'll say.
Okay.
Santi, you see Blitz Ingram come out of the fog. Water pouring out of his nose, mouth, eyes, ears. Also, this like chain barbed wire situation. And he just reaches out a hand to you and says, through a very wet, burbly voice, "If you come with me, I can save you, and you can save me."
So I'm going to step out of the way. Don't touch me. I think we're going to, because I've been dealing with ghosts
Yeah.
my whole life. So while I didn't go out into the fog, I am prepared just in case. So I just kind of want to I've got protective items on me. Hold that up. You're like, you want my help? You do it my way.
Make me a health check.
That's a 3, baby. Let's go.
Okay. You're going to take 1 point of health damage as you feel more water fill your lungs, and Ingram's face gets very angry. You have to help us.
I'm gonna help you, but I can't do that if we're dead. So whatever this is, just cut it out now.
Do you want to make me a persuasion check with best of 2?
I would love to do that.
Since you have protective items.
Okay. My charisma's a 0. That's fine. That is still a dirty 20, a slutty 20, if you will.
More than enough. So the spirit looks at you. You feel the water that was filling your lungs. And was it water? Because it's not there anymore. And it says, at the house. And just sort of dissipates into the fog. Like, was sort of coalescing out of the fog and then just like disperses back into it.
Gotcha. All right. I want to do the storm brewer thing that I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to create a gale. I want to break some of this up.
Yep, absolutely. Of survive, assess, or search, make me a roll just to see if you can get to the house.
Cool. That is a 15.
Okay, yep. So you will get to the house in a moment. Was it the captain next? So again, you've been confronted on the docks now by Rudy, who is half human, half figurehead, all broken and mangled, all desperation, pleading you to help save him.
I don't think I will. Just not into that. I think Captain Morgan will. Do I hear any of my companions around me, or am I too far?
Make me a luck roll.
Okay.
So
How
that
do I
is
do
you're
that?
rolling a d20, and if your luck is even, you're trying to get even, and
That's right.
odd, you're trying to get odd.
Even.
Okay. You do in fact hear Jake shouting very close by. Crew! I need a location!
I'll shout back. I'm on my way, and I will. Seeing this thing approach me. When I look in the fog, do I see Nick? Or is it just fog?
It's
Okay.
just fog and this one manifestation.
Ooh, all right. I will kind of keep my cutlass close and just start. I don't want to turn my back to it, but start backing up to where I hear Jake shouting.
Okay. So you sort of get the cutlass up between you and Rudy, and you see this ghost flinch. Like, shock. It seems to recognize the cutlass, and there's panic. And this sort of stream of words starts coming out, and what you hear is, love is stored in the pirate grizzled by lost love. Love is stored in the pirate grizzled by lost love. Love is stored in the pirate grizzled by lost love. And then you see Rudy just dissipate.
Alex, when I get my hands on you. Oh, fuck, my actions have consequences. Okay, cool. I'll just keep backing up.
Okay, I will say, because of the luck roll, that you and Jake are close enough that you can, like, Jake, the ghost has, like, gone in another direction. It's chasing the coin that flipped out. So you hear Captain Morgan shout in response to say, I'm coming! And then it's a matter of a minute before you are together. I'll have both of you make me a joint assess, search, or survive roll to get to the house.
Not great. That's a big 7.
Okay.
Mine was not greater. It was a big 5.
Oh God.
You know what? I'm going to be very kind and generous and add those two together to get you 12, which means you get there.
Thank you.
I just want you to I want you to get there. It's fine. So The two of you will also arrive momentarily. Artemisia, you have Aloysius in front of you, and it looks like he's ready to cut you up all over again. What would you like to do?
Can I do some clown shit, Alex?
VJ, to whom are you speaking? Clown
Yes,
shit
please.
is my life's blood.
So, theoretically, am I also a ghost of a similar ilk?
Theoretically, yes.
Okay. So, okay. Am I capable of doing that like life essence like stealing sort of thing, even if it's not like permanent, but just enough?
I'm going to say you've been to the other side of the veil long enough that yes, that is, you can manifest that.
So Artemisia sees that killed her 25 years ago. And at first, it's that fear that she felt when she was little more than a child herself and in love with a man who was a legend larger than life. And she feels the fear, but then she tamps it down and her eyes grow wide, more like the girl that she once was. She almost looks lovely again. And she looks at him with her big eyes and says, "Please, don't kill me again. I can't bear it. Anything you ask. Anything."
The smile widens. He says, I've been waiting 25 years for this. If you think I'm going to stop, you're as
And
dumb as you were that night. And then he, like, lunges at you with the knife.
and if can I make a maneuver to like just move it out of the way?
Yeah, that would be a stunt roll.
That okay, I'm going to do stunt because that will pass. So Artemisia will move his knife out of the way and hold him very close, looking at him almost placatingly and say, "It was me then, wasn't it? What you wanted? That was it. That's why you killed us. Because I said yes to him and no to you. I can be yours now, forever. Not even death can separate us."
There is genuine confusion. I thought that you and Nick were inseparable.
I was young. I didn't know my own heart, but I have had 25 years, 25 long years to think about the mistakes that I made that night. I'm yours now. And if I may, she will draw him close and press her ruined mouth against his and make that death rattle and draw as much of the life from his lungs as she can.
Just make me a resolve roll, I think. Just because of the spiritual energies that are happening here.
It's a 12?
And what is your current resolve?
Oh God. I've lost 3. It is 11.
This is a very hostile spirit. There is not any good. It is pure like spite and hate. So I will say you are able to de-essence him in such a way that he like there's the shock of like, oh, I've made a mistake, and then anger of like, "Argh," and then he out of existence. You are going to take 1 point of health damage though, because just it's like drinking brackish water or just, you know, just really vile. So like taking that into yourself and diffusing it's going to it's hurtful. But then he is gone. How would you like to try and make your way back to the house that you're supposed to be navigating your way to?
I think with the spirit dispelled, Artemisia is going to listen to the sound of the wind and the fog and try and let Nick lead her to where she needs to go.
Very good. I will say spend a resolve point, and that will be how you are able to like manipulate this the wind. And you're doing something very different from Santi, who was just like fog gone, tunnel go. You're like letting the fog just sort of drift you where you need to go. So that would be enough to take you home or to the home, which means Thomas. There is a very angry woman hovering above you. Hands.
No, thank you.
What is your reflex?
My reflex is 14 plus 3.
Okay. So I rolled an 18 on the dice.
Oh.
So you have the gun up. You're like, no, thank you. And you sort of like, but these arms just keep going. Like, you know, you expect a human length of arm, but they just keep reaching. And they grab your shoulders and just haul you up by your coat so that you are face to face, sort of, with this spirit. And it opens its mouth and like coins just spill out of it. They're like hitting your face and you feel they're hot, like almost molten, like they're barely holding their shape. And once the coins are gone, the eyes widen even more and she says, "My map."
There is a look of oh shit that just like slides across Thomas's face. Can I try to do like a stunt roll or something to just fall out of my coat?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Please do.
That's a 4, Alex.
Okay. Apparently it's a super well-made coat. Who would have thought? So you like try to duck out of it, and you're like, oh no, my arms are stuck. What I will say is the mayor has seen you get hauled up, and I think he's maybe thinking of his own survival in this moment, but he grabs your legs and pulls. And he does, in fact, like at that point, that's the sort of enough that you need to like get pulled out. And he's sort of like dragging you beyond into the courtyard of this. And he's like, you have to tell them I saved you. I saved you. You are alive because of me.
Running.
So you guys book it, and 2 hands come out of the fog.
No.
Make me a luck roll.
Oh no. Fuck. Yeah, I'll do that.
Are you unlucky or something?
I am unlucky. That is a fact.
Okay.
Okay, so well, my luck is even, and I rolled a 16. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say you rolled a 15. That's your unluckiness for you. But so you are both running, and the mayor is surprisingly quick for being like an old, out of shape dude. And it's a matter of which hand gets to a person first, and just you feel Drea's nails catch your clothes, and you get like the camera sees the mayor and you running next to each other, and then we just see you yanked back. And then you are on the ground and she is like hovering over you, and you feel this presence. She's like, "Where is my map, little boy?"
are there still coins around her at all?
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
So he's going to try this like, you know, super cinematic thing of like collecting coins in his hand and throwing them up at her face to try to get away from her.
Okay. Can you make me a ranged roll?
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you best of 2 because she's right
Oh,
there.
thank God. Okay. So at first I rolled a 10, and then I rolled a natural 1 for a 3. I think it'd just be really funny if I threw the coins and they just went through her.
Ding, ding, ding. You just hit the you're just like, oh no.
Yeah.
Right, you're a ghost. That makes sense.
So they do just pass through her. It's not a matter of hitting anything. She's a spirit. However, the coins coming back in her face, she recoils. And then maybe the old man's voice comes back to you.
About how she was found in a cold vault of gold, which drowned her.
And she, in fact, seems to be not... she seems to be scared of the coins, we'll say.
I'm scooting back while still just like grabbing another handful of these coins, scooting back, stand up, and I'll just aim my flintlock at her, but also hold out the coins with the other hand. Just don't come close to me again, okay?
You see her, and then she dissipates into the fog. And then you feel her right behind you, and she says, "I will get that map." And then she's gone. And at that point, the four of you converge all at the same time on Thomas.
Oh, thank God.
You are standing in front of this large brick building, very new-ish construction, or at the very least, it's very nice compared to this construction you're used to. There's a little brass plaque on the door that reads, "Greenback and Cash in Hand, Merchants at Large." And the windows of this place are all lit up, like you can see, like it's creating nimbuses of light in the fog, and you can hear inside there's a party going on. You hear violins, you hear chatter, you hear all the sounds of rich people who have not a care in the world. And then, as the mayor looks at you and says, "Let's go," he turns and kicks the front door in. And that is where we are going to end this particular session.